Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the shop where everything has gotten a nice coat of white paint, which of course hasn't helped with the echo at all. Don't worry, that's the next thing on the list. Today, we're going to talk about draw knives. And I know you're thinking, wait, I've never seen a draw knife that looks like that before. I know, everybody's probably used to the draw knives that you grip more like this, perpendicular to the blade, and you draw them towards yourself. And I get a lot of questions about that style of draw knife, how to sharpen them, how to use them, and more importantly, where to find them. And finding a good, affordable, new draw knife is not easy. A couple weeks ago, I was on AliExpress and I found this thing, and it was $8. Maybe with free shipping, and I thought, for $8, let's give it a shot. And the way they made it is, well, it's interesting. They took a crescent-shaped piece of high carbon steel, at least I really hope it's high carbon steel, and they ground kind of a rough bevel on it, and then on either end they took a piece of galvanized electrical conduit and they squished it flat and just arc welded it to the blade. It is an incredibly efficient method of manufacturing, but not super inspiring from a craftsman's standpoint. When this thing came out of the package, my first thought was, what a piece of garbage! And my second thought was, it's a surprisingly ergonomic piece of garbage. It actually feels good. Really. So today, we're going to get back to our roots, doing an old school import tool madness, and figure out if this $8 draw knife is actually worth anything. Now, they ground the blade a little bit at the factory, but it's like a butter knife. I can't go near this thing with a stone until I grind that bevel some more. So let's start there. Now, usually I do my grinding at a bench grinder, but I think those narrow wheels are going to have a hard time tracking this big convex curve. So instead, I've pulled my stationary belt sander in here. You could use a smaller one too. The point of a belt sander is it has this nice radius over the top. I think I'm going to be able to come across with the draw knife, rest the bevel on that radius, and then track it back and forth like this to grind a nice even bevel. Yep. This actually worked much better than I was expecting. It was really easy to stay on that bevel and follow it back and forth. The edge I've got, I hope you can see it, is great. It's almost sharp enough to cut the way it is. It just needs to be refined with a sharpening stone, which is fine, except that all of my sharpening stones are somewhere in here. So I'll catch up with you in a few minutes. So it turns out my diamond stones were towards the top of the pile, so winner. If you don't have these, you can always use oil stones, water stones, sandpaper on blocks of wood. That would work fine for this. The handles of my draw knife are hollow, which is convenient because I have to hold it somehow. I'm going to fit that hollow handle right over the corner of my workbench and then hold this other side firmly. I'm going to hold the sharpening stone just like this, and then I'm going to find the bevel by rocking back and forth, and then I'll hone. Now to do the other side, I could switch hands, but I think I can just roll it over. That looks good, and I'm going to leave it at a little bit of an angle to match the natural angle that I'm holding the stone, and I can work on this side. Okay, that edge is already feeling really good, but this is a super coarse stone. This is a 300, so I'm going to go through all of my stones, and then at the end I'm going to strop this to get the finest edge, and then we can test it. Now, for testing out your draw knife, it's really great to have a shave horse. This is my take on the traditional English bodger's horse. I've got a full set of plans. You can build this in about a day and a half out of 2 boards of construction lumber. The plans are really inexpensive. I will link to them down in the description. But let's use this horse to test out this draw knife. I've got a stick of maple here. It's dry hardwood. I don't have any green wood sitting around. Let's give it a try. So, full disclosure, I was doing this a little bit off camera, and honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised. For one thing, this is pretty tough wood, and the draw knife is cutting through it no problem. It takes a pretty aggressive cut or a finer sort of finishing cut. I bet it would be great if I were doing green wood. It's pretty good the way it is. Also, the ergonomics are surprising. Most draw knives, you hold them more like this. Some designs, you have to kind of cant your wrists forward in a way that I don't always find comfortable. With this one, they're just, parallel. It's pretty pretty comfortable. It's a pretty natural position. One thing I did notice is that these handles are bent down a little bit. If you look at it like this, it makes either a smiley face or a frowny face, and you want that frowny face. You want the handles canted down a little bit. That gives you a more comfortable, more ergonomic grip. But, you know, just having used it for a few minutes here, it's surprisingly good. Now, I know you're thinking, Rex, that shave horse you have, that's very nice, but I don't know when I'm going to get around to building one of those. And I already have one of these low benches that you told me to build last year. Can't we take this Drawknife and the low bench I already own and get them working together somehow? Absolutely. We're going to start by taking a piece of scrap wood and cutting it into this shape. It's just a simple stair step on top, and then there's a tenon at the end. That tenon is sized for the square mortise that you already built into your low bench. No matter which version of the low bench you built, they've all got this. And this block goes in like this and drops in. And this is going to hold one end of the wood we're working on. Now, obviously, we can hold one end with this thing, but we've got to hold the other end somehow. And, all right, listen, things are about to get weird. You're going to have to just trust me. This is how we're going to hold the other end, this thing. And here's how it goes. It's like this. I'm serious. You wear it like a big necklace. This is called the belly, or in some traditions it's called the bib. I did not make this up. This is a real traditional way of turning a low bench into a shave horse. And this is the way it works. You've got a piece of stock right here, and you can see there's a cross cut into this chunk of 4x4. Just some saw cuts. It's really easy. And you're going to fit your piece of work to the stair step, and then you're going to fit it into the cross like that, and you're just going to hold it with body pressure. Let me grab my Drawknife, and I'm going to set this, pick which one is comfortable. I think that's a good setting for it, and then I'm going to get to work. It's really that simple. So I've been practicing with this setup all afternoon, and I've actually learned a lot. The first thing is, this is a skill. You're going to need to practice it. So I'll put the piece in like this, and then I'll set it against the bib, just like that. And then, if I want to take a light cut, I can hold the piece lightly. I'm barely holding it at all right now. And then I can very easily take a shaving cut like this, and this is a pretty steep angle. If I want to shift and take a heavy cut to waste away a lot of material, I've got to hold it differently. I don't have to just grip it harder with my ab muscles. I also have to change the angle. I have to shift down like this, so I have more of a straight shot between the bib and the stair step. But once I've got it locked in like that, I'm all set to take big cuts of wood and really waste away material quickly. When you first start doing this, it's probably not going to click for you instantly. There's this weird balancing act you have to get, and the piece just flops over really easily. It still happens to me even after I've been practicing with it for a while. You can't expect this to work right away. It's going to take a little bit of learning before you get it. Now, there's a couple things I really like about this setup. For one thing, it's got incredible quick release. If I'm holding a piece like this and I don't like it and I want to flip it around, it couldn't be simpler. Another thing that I like is that you can push and pull because you're using this style of Drawknife. You can't usually do that with the standard American or British pattern, but if I'm cutting like this and I don't like the grain, it's sort of starting to fight me, I can turn around and push into the cut instead. Now, one thing I found with pushing is that it's very helpful if you don't use both hands at the same time. It's much better to brace one hand and then pivot the other one through the cut like that. I can't even say why it works better, but it definitely does. The other thing that's great is this piece of 4x4 here. It might seem weird, you might not understand why it's here, but it gets the piece of work a little further away from you, so you can even work on the end that's really close to you. So let's say I was making a chair and I wanted to carve this end into a tenon or something. Well, this piece of post is pushing the work far enough away from my body that I can see it and I can work on it easily and safely. It's all right here. So the whole system works beautifully. If you'd like to get into making some simple chairs, stools, benches, other green wood projects, I mean, honestly, $8 Drawknife, low bench, very easy to build, and the rest of these things were free. And here I am, making parts. I have to be honest. When I first bought this Drawknife for $8, I didn't even really think I was going to make a video about it. I mean, it's $8. But it's, okay, I can't say it's good, all right? It cost $8. It's not good exactly, but it is surprisingly decent. It works. It holds an edge. It's pretty comfortable. It seems durable. It's a primitive tool, but still a pretty effective one. If you wanted to get started in green woodwork, chair making, stuff like that, you could get one of these, build a low bench, build a couple of accessories for it, and be on your way. It really would be that simple to get started. If you'd like to build a low bench, the one that I showed in this video is called the Lightweight Traveler. I've got a full set of plans for that. You can make it out of a pair of construction 2x6s in a day or a day and a half. It's a great beginner project, and I will link to those plans down in the description. Now, if you'd like to modify that bench to make it work as a shave horse, to make it work with your Drawknife, I want to direct you to Chris Schwarz's book, Ingenious Mechanics. That's the book where I first learned about low benches, and it inspired a lot of the stuff that I've done. Chris has complete instructions for making the bib and for making that little stair step thing, and he's the one who did the research and figured out how to make them, so he really deserves your business. His book is put out by Lost Art Press, and I will link to that down in the description as well. Finally, if you're gonna do green work or chair making, you really can't beat a traditional shave horse. The low bench is fine, it totally works, but there's a learning curve. It's not necessarily easy. The shave horse is easy. There is no learning curve. You sit down at it, you brace the work, and you get going immediately. You just go. So if you're serious about this kind of work, you really want to build something like this. And I've got plans for one of these too. This is another 2-day project that you can make out of 2 boards of construction lumber. I have the plans for that down in the description, or you can find them at rexkruger.com/store. And of course, my patrons never pay for plans because they get all of my plans, dozens of them, for free. They also get all kinds of behind-the-scenes stuff, like all sorts of exclusives about my new shop. I just even did an exclusive video about painting the shop, which I thought would be boring, but my patrons really liked it, and I love doing it for them because they're the ones who make this work possible. If you'd like to be one of those people, go on over to patreon.com/rexkruger and check out all the rewards I have for the people who make these videos happen. Thank you so much for being here. I know it's been kind of a slow start in the new shop, but we're slowly ramping up and we're going to have more and better content for you. Thanks for watching.